Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the premier radio networks, including our newest station in San Francisco, KKSF News Talk, 910 a.m. on Sunday, January 29th, 2012. This is episode 844. Enjoy. Well, hey, how are you today? Welcome. It's time to talk tech. Leo Laporte here. Yes, I'm the tech guy. This is the show where we talk about computers. Well, anybody can do that. We also talk about the internet. And, well, yeah, I guess anybody can do that too. How about cell phones, home theater, digital photography, anything with a chip in it? This is the show for you. The all-dancing, all-singing tech guy program. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the number, 888-827-5536 if you want to talk. Toll-free from anywhere in the U.S. Outside the U.S., it's just use Skype, and it'll still be toll-free for you. So it's been 2 weeks now since the new Google launched. Did you notice the new Google? I'm not talking about the privacy policy. I'll get to that in a little bit, but this search plus your world. I think nowadays that a lot of people don't even go to google.com, so you might not have seen the announcement at google.com. That's where they kind of made it public. You might have seen the changed results when you do a Google search in your browser. You know, if most browsers now, they have a little search thing in the browser, and so that's really, I think, how I always search. I rarely just, go to google.com. But if you do a search, let's do a search for music is a good example in your browser. Now, this won't do anything if you're not logged into your Google account. But it will if you have a Google account, whether it's Gmail or, but this is interesting because it's not doing it anymore for me. I wonder if they've changed this. If you have a Gmail account or some sort of Google account, music doesn't work, doesn't do it anymore. Maybe they've turned Search Plus My World off for me. That would figure. What do you see when you do it? Do you see on the right? Do you see a bunch of Google Plus results, not marked as ads, just Google Plus results? Used to be I would see a couple of artists. Yeah, you see that, don't you? All right. Maybe because I've been so critical of it, they've changed it for me. Wouldn't that be interesting? That would even be worse, wouldn't it? If Google kind of modifies its results based on who you are. Let me try it. Let me try weather. Somebody was saying weather's a good one. Yeah, that worked. So Google is trying, like as you would expect, to make a better search engine, right? So what they do now, if you type weather, for instance, they'll give you your local weather. And if you're logged in, because they know where you are. That's okay, right? They'll also, at the top, you'll notice personal results, 90 personal results. I'll talk about that in a second. And then on the right, you'll see people and pages on Google+. And I see James Spann, who is the host of Weather Brains, the Weather Brains podcast, and a meteorologist back east. In the southeast. I see the Weather Channel, and I see Google's own page for weather, I guess, or James does that. Let me try music here again and see if I'm getting that. Yeah, I get Britney Spears, Paul Oakenfold. I get their Google Plus accounts. I don't get Britney Spears' Twitter account. I don't get Britney Spears' Facebook account. Let me try Mark Zuckerberg. He's the founder of Facebook, right? And I start to type Mike Zuckerberg in, and the first result I see at the top of the page is his Google Plus account, not his Facebook account, not his Twitter account, not anything else, not his personal webpage, his Google Plus account. Now, the weird thing is that a good search result? Well, if you're Google, I guess it is. But if you're interested in Mark Zuckerberg, it's not, because he's never posted anything on Google+. He's apparently gotten a verified account. He's got a picture of himself. He's got 628,529 followers. But there's no content there. There's no, even if I click about, all it says is I make things, and it says that he lives in, Silicon Valley. That's it. I knew that. So is that, let me ask you, should that be the first search result for Mark Zuckerberg? It's not the best search result. It's a page that Google does. And this is why people are a little upset about this. Now, Google says is, well, what we want to do is we want to massage your results with personal information, recommendations from your friends and so forth. And I guess, you know, some of that massaging works. If I type in weather, I get my local weather. That's probably what I want. If I type in San Francisco to Boston, I get flights from San Francisco to Boston. Flights, by the way, that Google makes money on, because Google, in fact, knows about these flights, puts a flight schedule in. I can see the prices, and when I click on the prices, it takes me to the airline site, and Google gets a little something for that. It's basically an ad. But does it say an ad? No. There is an ad above it for Virgin America, but the flight results don't say ad. The Google Plus results for Mark Zuckerberg don't say ad. If I type music, maybe thinking, well, I'll see Lady Gaga. I don't, because Lady Gaga didn't have a Google Plus account for the longest time. When this launched 2 weeks ago, Lady Gaga immediately created a Google Plus account. So you see how Google is favoring its own stuff, isn't it? Now, I've asked Google, and what Matt Cutts, who's in charge of spam at Google, he's the spam fighter. He fights spam on web pages, says is, well, we'd like to include results from Twitter and Facebook, but in fact, we used to. We used to have a deal with Twitter, but they pulled the plug on it, and so we don't want to build. We're engineers, he says. We don't want to build a search engine on something that somebody can pull the plug on. So we build it on Google Plus because it's ours, we know, and there's social signals there. But does it help search? No. Is it Google's right to do it? Sure, they're a private company. They can do anything they want. They're under a lot of scrutiny, of course, for monopolistic practices from the Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission. But I'll leave that to the antitrust litigators there. Google's far from a monopoly, only 65% of the search market. But as my friend M.G. Siegler pointed out, we're not saying this is a bad business for Google. In fact, it might even be good business for Google. We're saying it's bad search results. Google's now changing their search results to favor Google content. Whatever the reason, that's the fact. So that's Search plus your world. Maybe they should have called it Search plus Google's world. And sometimes it works. When I search for pizza restaurants, it can include recommendations from my friends, for instance. It certainly will look for something in my area, shows me all the stuff in my area, because again, I'm logged into my account, it knows, and it will show me 80 personal results, and those 80 personal results will tell me, presumably, what my friends like when it comes to pizza. So that's potentially good, isn't it? Somewhat useful, although I would submit better to get that information on Facebook. Oh, wait a minute, there's the problem, isn't it? Google doesn't own Facebook, do they? They don't want me to get that information from Facebook, do they? They want me to get that information from Google. Now, Google got a lot of heat last week because they changed their privacy policy. Did they? Not really. What they did, that's how you might read, and certainly some of the newspapers made it sound like they did. They didn't. They announced that we are unifying results across all our platforms, YouTube, Google+, Picasa, Google Search, et cetera, stuff that they've probably already been doing that. The only reason they wouldn't do it is because, you know, they acquired Picasa, they acquired YouTube. Maybe they hadn't gotten around to hooking the computers together. But of course, Google's selling advertising, and the more information they get about you from a variety of sites, the better the advertising targeting. So I'm not surprised they're doing this. They announced that they were going to do that, and they announced that they would have a unified privacy policy covering all of their products instead of different ones for different products. And I think that's great. Makes it, it's clear, it's English, it's easy to understand. You go to the bottom of any Google page, you click privacy, and you will see their privacy policy. So I don't have any problem with that. We'll talk a little more about it when we come back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
If you're not on Google+, you're pretty much a loser, unless you're an Orkut or Friendster user. Plus, warning is the future, so don't make a fuss. It's
Google's response.
where you take a shuttle bus.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So with a little fool, I guess because I had Mark Zuckerberg in my Google+ circles, that's why he was showing up. So, but nevertheless, you know, I guess if you're not on Google+ at all, you'll get less or fewer. You get some, but you'll get fewer Google+ results. Okay, okay. Google, and in terms of the privacy policy, you know, a lot of these newspapers said you can't opt out. You can't get out of it. Of course, you can opt out if you sign out of your Google account, or you use private browsing in your browser, that kind of thing. So you can opt out of it. You're not forced to use it. So in my opinion, as far as a privacy policy goes, I think Google did the right thing. Of course, they're going to unify data from all of their properties. That's why you buy those properties. It gives them better search results. It gives them better, in theory, better search results. And it gives them better ads for sure. And they've been very upfront. It's on the front page of Google, and everywhere you go with Google, it says, we've changed our policy. Read it. It's not the usual yada, yada. I even like that. They're saying, you've got to read this. And I think they have a clear, well-stated policy, and it's up to you whether you want to live with it or not. I think in every respect, that's okay and above board. I don't have a problem with that. And by the way, and I mentioned this on our last show, if you're worried about Google knowing what you do, forget it. Google's the least of your worries. Every website you go to tracks you. Part of the tracking issue is exacerbated by these advertising companies. Google owns one called DoubleClick, but there's others that can track you on every site that one of their ads exists. So it could be across multiple sites. But you know, and even then, I'm not worried about it because you know who knows more about you than anybody? Your internet service provider. And the government says to them, you got to keep this data for 2 years in case we need it. In case we need it. So in my opinion, your best bet is to just assume when you go on the internet, it's public. It's public. It's public. Just consider that. That's all. When you go on the internet, you're in public. And then all of this will feel better. Now, that doesn't change my opinion that Google plus Search Your World has some potential problems. I understand, and I think the future of search is what we call social search, that takes search results, traditional Google-style search results, and massages them with social signals from your friends. And I think that's potentially very valuable. And by the way, if you think there's an alternative on Bing, it's the same. They use Facebook. Any search engine that can will, because it does give you better results. I just think we need to keep an eye on Google and make sure that they don't prefer their own properties. You know, if you search for video, I would hope that they would include Vimeo as well as YouTube. If you search for image galleries, I would hope that they would include Flickr as well, or as highly as their own Picasa web. And unfortunately, they already have told us we are not going to give Facebook, or even though we could, you know, scrape data from Facebook and Twitter, you can search for Facebook results, you can search for Twitter results, we're going to prefer our Google+. So they've already admitted they're doing that. They say they have to. And I'm not necessarily disagreeing, but I think we got to watch them like a hawk. Because, not because it's not their right to do so as a business. No, I understand that. But search is so important, so powerful, so critical to the free-flowing information on the web. We've got to make sure that we're using search engines that do the best possible job. And the good news is if Google doesn't, there are other choices. And there will be, I presume, continue to be other choices, despite Google's 65% of the market. 8888 Ask Leo. I'm getting off my high horse. You know, it's Sunday. I got to do my Sunday sermon. But I'm down now. I'm going to talk to you. Peter in Santa Barbara, you're our first caller. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hello, Leo. I love your show.
Thank you.
My question is, I am a small business owner, and I recently purchased, or I went from Mac to PC. It was an end-of-the-year purchase for tax reasons, and we also bought a couple of iPads.
You went from Mac to PC.
I'm sorry.
PC to Mac.
I'm sorry. PC to Mac.
Okay.
Okay. And we also bought a couple of iPad 2s, and I am up on my contract on my telephone with Sprint. I currently have an Evo. It was the first Evo.
That was a great little phone, wasn't it? But even though it's only a year or two old, it still seems pretty outdated compared to the latest Android phones.
It does, definitely.
Yeah.
You walk into the stores and things seem much better now.
Yeah.
Now, since Sprint just currently picked up the iPhone.
They have the iPhone, and they're about to get the Galaxy Nexus, which is the top-of-the-line Android phone.
Definitely. And this is also a consideration when I went in.
And both will. Now, here's the difference. If you care about 4G, Sprint's 4G network is not, which is kind of sort of 4G, is not supported by the iPhone, but is supported by the Galaxy Nexus.
Right. Well, in Santa Barbara, actually, there is no 4G.
Then you don't care.
It only comes up through Ventura County.
Yeah.
So, at any rate, I was kind of set since I made these purchases. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go in. I'm going to get an iPhone 4S. Right. And when I went and I talked to the representative, he said he kind of talked the iPhone down.
Really interesting. What did he say you should get? What did he say you should get?
Well, he was more towards the Samsung. I think it's a 4 Touch, if I'm not mistaken.
I have that. I love that phone. It's called. Get ready for this.
Yes.
The Samsung Galaxy 2S Epic Touch 4G.
That's it. Okay.
The world's longest name.
My wife actually has the first phone, the first Samsung.
I happen to love. If you like Android, and I guess you might if you had an Evo for all these years. I think you would love the Galaxy 2S because it's got a great Super AMOLED screen. Sprint's version is big too. It's 4.6 inches. I think it's just a dynamite looking phone. I like the screen actually better on it than the Galaxy Nexus. Although the Galaxy Nexus is using Ice Cream Sandwich, and the Epic Touch 4G is using Gingerbread. That's an earlier version of Android. I think Gingerbread is very good, and frankly, I'm just as happy with it. So I don't see much difference there. Really, to me, it probably is down to the iPhone versus the Epic Touch. I think they're both excellent phones. If you already use an Android phone and you like an Android phone, then maybe you want to stay with an Android phone. You already got it all set up. There's no reason just because you went Mac that you should not use Android phones because they all work with Google, and the Mac works with Google, the Google Calendar. Yeah, and might as well let Google have every bit of personal information about you after all. Google Calendar, Gmail, Google Contacts, Google Tasks. I use all of them, and they work very well on both phones. So I don't see anything wrong with that. The advantage, I think, of the Epic Touch is it's bigger. And I often, when I type on the iPhone, little teeny weeny beady little keys, it's hard for me to type accurately. Much more accurate typing on the Android phones. Now, here's the advantage. Okay, advantage to iPhone. Well, if you buy iPad apps and they work on the iPhone, you'll get them for free. So if you start doing a lot of iPadding, the iPhone might be better. Those are your choices. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. So the choice, it's a very personal choice. And this sounds like I'm hedging or fudging or bludging or kludging. But in fact, I really believe this. The computer that you carry in your pocket is the most personal of all computers, and this cell phone choice is a very personal choice. I don't tell people what laptop to choose or what keyboard to choose. I say you have to try it. And certainly, I can give you the pros and cons, and I'm glad to do you that. But you should really probably go to the Sprint store and try them. I find the iPhone, and I think this is going to be a problem for the iPhone going forward. And by the way, the iPhone is probably the phone I carry the most, although I have many phones. many phones. I have accounts with all the major carriers for that reason, and I buy these phones, so I don't, I want to have a real experience of them. But the problem I have with the iPhone is this keyboard size. And I think this is going to hurt the iPhone going forward. It's a 3.5-inch screen. Now, some people like a small phone. And if you like a small phone, that's fine. This is good. It's small and capable. And certainly the iPhone has the most apps available for it, 500,000 apps and so forth. And it's capable of, doing almost anything. It's got the best camera by far, although the others are catching up. I use it instead of a point and shoot all the time. I have a whole page of camera apps on here. And there are apps that are available only on the iPhone, although that number is getting smaller and smaller. Most apps now are available on both Android and iPhone. But I find the screen a little small to type on. And I often make mistakes because I have big old sausage fingers, And so with these big fingers, it's hard to let me start a new note here. It's hard for me to type accurately. Whereas on a bigger screen, and I have to say these new Android phones. In fact, I'm looking at the Galaxy Note, which is over 5 inches. It's huge, and I don't mind because I like a bigger screen. So on-screen keyboards, I find I can type more accurately with a bigger screen. I'm old. I'm over 40, so a bigger screen is easier to read for me as well. Now, admittedly, the iPhone screen is beautiful because it's what they call a Retina display. It's very high resolution, but it's not a 720p display. It's not an HD display as, say, the HTC Resound on Verizon is, the Galaxy Nexus is on Verizon and Sprint soon. We're starting to see 720p phones, and so those are high-resolution phones with bigger screens that give you full HD. That's pretty nice. And if you like to tweak your phone, certainly Android is a better choice. It gives you more options. One of the things Apple's starting to also they're a little behind on screen size, but they're also looking a little bit behind because there is really only one way to lay out their screen. That's as a grid of applications or folders. They finally added folders. But that's about it. On Android phones, I can put widgets on these screens that will be larger and give me more information. I kind of like that. Also, the iPhone only has one button. Well, two if you include the on-off switch. And that means when you're in an application, there's only one way to go, and that's out of the application. And in fact, I find, and this is a very strange thing for a Macintosh or an Apple product, that the user interface on the iPhone is it's easy to master the operating system, but every app has kind of a different user interface because there's really no standard on the iPhone for where you put menus, where you put buttons, what happens, when you're on one screen. Can you go back, or do you have to exit out of the app entirely? That's kind of unpredictable. So sometimes I can get really lost in an application, not clear at all, because there's no standard. Believe it or not, Android, I think, is a little better, and I know there's a big debate over this, but I happen to like the fact that it's got 4 buttons on everything but the newest Androids, 4 buttons along the bottom. And there's a home button just like the iPhone, but there's also a back button, a menu button, and a search button. And so it's a little easier because every app responds to those buttons. It's a little easier for me to understand what to do in an app, or at least figure out what to do in an app. I love a menu button, and I love a back button. Back button's just like your browser back button. It takes you to the previous thing you did, and the previous thing, and the previous thing. I think those are missing on the iPhone. iPhone has Siri if you get an iPhone 4S. That's pretty cool, although you do have decent voice dictation, especially on the new Galaxy Nexus. It's actually quite good. So, but you see, those are pros and cons, and some things will matter to you, some things you will agree with, some things you won't. You got to try it. There is no right answer. There's no one phone for everybody. There shouldn't be. That's why I like one of the reasons I like Android, lots of choices. Lots of choices. An iPhone, you basically have a couple of choices, a 4 or 4S or a 3GS, and that's about it. Gary in Santa Monica, you're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. How are you today?
I'm great, Gary. Thanks for calling.
Good. I hope you can make me a hero with my employer. I seem to have gotten myself in a big project to take what may be 10 years of his photo collections, all on his backup drives. He kept on buying another backup drive as he filled one, and it ended up with a zillion duplicates as well. So I have access to both Mac and PC, looking at both iPhoto and something like Picasa. Or
does he use, which does he use?
He has both also.
Okay.
He has both. So we like the fact that iPhoto, when importing photos, put them into chronological order, in year folders by year.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have good handling of duplicates. There are some extra programs out there well worth their $5 or $30 to find and get rid of duplicates, but I'm really looking for hopefully a clear solution from you. What is the best way to gather all of them, have a program search them, pull them into a clear library, and then find duplicates by size, date, name, similarities? What can you advise me?
It's a little, the reason I think Apple does a good job on dupes. If you do an import into iPhoto, it will say skip duplicates, and in most cases it does a good job. You can't be too aggressive about that because you don't want to accidentally delete somebody's precious picture. So, in fact, it probably would behoove you to make a copy of everything, duplicates and all, and put it somewhere archival and safe, just in case.
Sure.
You don't want your boss coming to you and saying, you know, I can't find that picture of my daughter and her wedding. And you said, oh, well, that was a duplicate of the giraffe you took in Kenya. I'm sorry, I deleted it. So there are third-party dupe detectors. In fact, there's one called Dupe Detector from Prismatics Software, DUP Detector. The chat room says this works pretty well. It's not a pretty program by any means.
That's okay.
But it has
End
the
result
kind.
is most important.
Yeah, well, and it has the kind of tools that you want, including a way to preview the image.
Now,
so
if you
before you delete it.
Picasa, does Picasa duplicate
Yes, it
the
does.
library
Yes,
the way
it does.
that iPhoto does?
Yes, it does.
By year?
Yep. So
Now,
Picasa will also organize. This is a Windows and Mac program, but for Windows users, it's the one I recommend, and dedupe. And then there are higher-end programs, if you want to get really fancy, Dan, like Lightroom and Aperture. Lightroom also has a dedupe feature. Almost all of these, it's not like find duplicates and delete it. What you'll do is, with Lightroom as an example, is you'll create a new library, a new catalog. They call it a catalog. And import all the existing images into the catalog. And it will say, do you want me to skip duplicates? And you say yes. Now you've created a catalog that has presumably a minimum number of duplicates. If there are duplicates, it's because, for instance, the two images have been modified. If you modify an image in Lightroom or iPhoto or Picasa, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Apologize for that last break. Something went wrong in our recording system. And I got cut off a little bit. We were looking for ways to dedupe a photo catalog that has a lot of duplicates. And, you know, we're all in this situation. And maybe if not, if your photos with your music, there are lots of, and there are deduping programs. But again, you got to be judicious. And one of the reasons that companies like Apple and Google with Picasa are perhaps not super good at deduping is they don't want to be too aggressive. You don't want to delete something by accident. So the chat room has recommended this prismaticssoftware.com dupe detector, Prismatics, PrismaticsSoftware.com. It's called DUP detector. I guess if you Google DUP space detector, you'd find it. It's free. It's for Windows. Windows 7, Vista XP, 95, ME, 2K, 98, NT4. It looks like it works on every version. And it does one of the things that I really like. It finds dupes, but then you can view them before you delete them. And I think that's a very good idea. That's one way to handle that. But this is, if you have thousands of images, this is going to be really time-consuming. My suggestion, if you have a ton of images, is just to live with a little bit of duplication and use the built-in duplicate avoidance mechanism in iPhoto if you're on a Mac, in Picasa if you're on Windows, Lightroom for either. If you're a little more serious, Lightroom's a good choice. In every case, when you import photos, the originals, into the libraries of any of those programs, it will ask, it'll say, well, do you want me to copy duplicates? And you say no. it'll do a good job, I think, of getting rid of duplicates without being overly aggressive, and you may, as a result, have a few duplicates. And as I was saying before I was cut off, one of the reasons is if you did red eye reduction, that's not a duplicate. Now you have the original with red eyes and the modified copy with no red eyes. Every program's going to keep both. It ought to. They're not duplicates. And you may see what you think is a duplicate is a different size, so it's like a shrunk-down version. You absolutely don't want to throw out the large original and keep the 100-kilobyte copy. You want to keep all the quality. And the good news is hard drives are cheap. So they're and photos, as big as they've gotten, in modern cameras, 21-megapixel, giant file sizes now, sometimes 40 megabytes an image. Remember when a floppy was 1.5 megabytes? Do you ever think there'd be a day where you'd need 30 floppies to keep one picture? Well, that's how big they are. And yet, our terabyte, 2 terabyte, now even 3 terabyte hard drives are plenty big enough to hold thousands of those. So I don't think there's a... I think that let's not be too assiduous in getting rid of duplicates. Let's go to the UK. Lewis is on the line. Hi, Lewis. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Talking.
Yeah, I'm not hearing him.
He hasn't said anything.
Lewis, are you there?
Hello.
Ah, there we go. Hi, Lewis.
Hey, Leo.
You actually have the same question as one of our previous questioners. Go ahead. It's taking a long time for the bits to come across the Atlantic. Lewis, I want to put you on hold because there is so much delay. I'm presuming Lewis is on Skype. But his question was, which I prefer, Samsung or iPhone? I would refer you to our previous conversation. I happen to like the Samsung Galaxy S2 the best of all phones that I have. Absolutely. I just love it. I think it's a great phone. A little closer to home, Bruce in Carpinteria, Southern California. Hi, Bruce. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. Thanks for taking my call, third-time caller. I'm starting to develop a website. I just published a book, and the book's got 81 chapters, and I want to put together a matrix so that, people can, click on any one of the 81 chapters and pull it up on the screen. And I've seen some pretty cheesy-looking matrices out there, and I wondered if you could tell me which development tool, I don't know whether it's WordPress or whatever, would be the best one for doing that. Of course, I'm also concerned with the usual stuff with screen resizing, and I'd like to have...
Right. So,
like that.
The form of the book right now is Microsoft Word or text or...
Actually, right now it's in what you would call OpenOffice or LibreOffice.
Okay. Good.
I use Ubuntu generally.
All right. So really, the truth is there's two steps to this. One, you can make and there are a number of programs that would do this very simply. You might even be able to save it out of LibreOffice as HTML. And that would be each chapter, for instance, is a long page, and then there's a table of contents and all of that stuff. And you'd look at it and you'd go, boy, it's kind of ugly. And there are a lot of examples of this, including all the Ubuntu documentation on the web. I'll give you a good example, which is I've mentioned this before, HTDP, How to Design Programs.org. It's an old MIT textbook that they turned into a web version for free. And when you look at the book, and this is very common. On every page, there is a kind of at the top, what we call a breadcrumbs trail of next page, previous page, contents, index. And it makes it very easy for you to jump to that page, jump to that chapter, and then you can look at the chapter, and each chapter is a very long HTML page with not a lot of formatting, but the text is there. Even the images are there, and there's enough formatting. They probably used a Unix tool like Tech or nroff to create the formatting so that there's enough there that really this is as good as a textbook. Not pretty, but as good as a textbook. Now, what you could do once you've generated this kind of straight HTML with ASCII text in it is pretty it up with CSS, cascading style sheets. Because if you look at the underlying HTML, you'll see there's sections. You can redefine sections. So it's actually great. It's very easy with style sheets to say, hey, whenever I say H1, which is the header, you know, the big headlines in HTML, I really mean do it in Gothic script and make a drop shadow. You can do all sorts of stuff to it. And take the exact same page, add a style sheet to each page, and suddenly you've dressed it up. So since you're a Linux user, you know, there are tools to do this, kind of basic ways to do this. I would start with a Unix tool perhaps to get it into, you know, these plain HTML files. And then I think you said WordPress. I think WordPress is a good choice. What you'll do is a WordPress template. And what templates are nowadays really is cascading style sheets that say, well, when you see a header, do this. If you see a date, do that. If you see numbers, do this. And you could use the generic style sheets provided by these templates. There are a great many at WordPress.org if you want to look at them. I bet you, and I'll ask the chat room, there's a number of very good ones designed for books specifically. Another thing, Bruce, you might want to look into, if you have a Macintosh lying around, is Apple's new Author tool. Now, this is kind of intriguing. Apple has released this for free in the App Store. It's a tool designed to make it easy to create books. It's called iBooks Author for the iPad. And it is incredible. I mean, it lets you not only just take that text that you've got, place it into a template and be done with it, but if you decide you want to add images, movies, audio, really dress it up, you can do that. It's free, but there's one little caveat. Since you're a Linux user, I think you'll be sensitive to this. If you decide you want to sell this book, you can only sell it on the iBook store. Now, it sounds like you're willing to give it away, in which case you can do anything you want. An author will publish it out in a variety of formats, some of which are completely, like PDF, are completely compatible with the web and don't require an iPad. So this is, and there are a number of tools like this, authoring tools that will take a plain text file and turn it into an ebook format, some of which are compatible with plain old browsers. So that's if you want to get a little bit fancier. That might be another way to do it. Let me just summarize. The idea being, get that text out as in plain text, indexed, table of contents, all of that stuff, and don't worry about formatting. And then you have a lot of choices when it comes to formatting it. Everything from WordPress templates to iBooks Author. And you can dress it up all you want. I think iBooks Author is very interesting. It has some challenges because, of course, it's proprietary, but you can, when you have a book, you can save it out in non-proprietary formats, and I think there's some advantages to that. You can export into PDF, or if you want, I guess text, although I don't see an advantage to that. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. And we've been having some fun talking about cell phones, which cell phone is best, how to dedupe your photographs. Coming up in about half an hour, 33:30 to be exact. 33 minutes and 30 seconds past the hour. Our My Name Ain't Leo Laporte. Chris Marquardt, our photo guy, will join us. And actually, we do something kind of kooky for the radio. Every month we have an assignment, because I find the best way to get better at photography is to take pictures. And assignments are a great way to get you out there in the field taking pictures. So we had an assignment for the last 4 weeks. We've asked you to take pictures illustrating the word footprint, and we will see what that means to you on the radio. Just a little bit. Chris will pick 3 of the submissions to our Flickr group. And then we'll give you a new assignment, too. So we'll talk a little bit about what makes a good photograph, why he likes those particular photographs. And, of course, we do put links on our webpage so you can see the shots. That'll be at techguylabs.com. James DeRuvo's taking notes on everything so that all the links are there. techguylabs.com. Also, you'll see there a link to our chat room. You can join us in chat. We like having you there. About 1,000 people usually during the week visiting, joining us. techguylabs.com. So Chris will come up in just a little bit. But right now, let's get back to the phones. Bob in Los Angeles. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo.
Hey, Bob.
I am a Canon 7D user. I love my camera.
Yeah, it's a great camera.
It sure is. But for a more portable pocket camera, I've always used the Canon G series.
I love those, too. The G12 is the latest.
And that's what I've got. But for a while now, I've been researching the Micro Four Thirds cameras, and I was ready to make the shift to the Olympus EP3, and then I saw the announcement of the new Canon G1x.
You can't win.
I know. And so I'm really basically just trying to understand the difference between the two sensors to help me make my choice. The Olympus has a 17.3 by 13 millimeter sensor.
That's what we call Micro Four Thirds. All Micro Four Thirds have the same size sensor.
Okay.
And go ahead.
And I understood that the advantage of that was it was a bigger sensor than most small cameras.
It's bigger than a thumbnail. The G1X has a sensor, an APS-C sensor, I think. It's the size of the same size as the sensor in your 7D.
Okay. They said it was 18.7 by 14 millimeters.
Yeah,
so it's a little bigger than the Micro Four Thirds.
It's an APS-C, I think. So
okay.
That's another. Okay. Well, let's talk about what all this means. The advantage of a larger sensor is better light gathering, and maybe more megapixels. Although that's not what I consider the advantage. What I really consider the advantage of a larger sensor is a more nuanced, accurate picture. And if you look at something from a full-frame camera, like the Nikon D3, D4, or the 5D Canon, you'll see, I think, a considerable difference in quality between that and smaller sensors. And, of course, there's even larger sensors. There's medium formats. So you can get pretty big in the sensors, but they also get pretty big in the price range. So bigger sensor means bigger camera, bigger cost, almost always. The Micro Four Thirds line, and a lot of manufacturers are doing this, and one of the advantages of Micro Four Thirds is they are generally interchangeable lenses, and you can use the lens from any Micro Four Thirds company, whether it's Olympus, Panasonic, anybody. All those lenses are compatible, same mount. Micro Four Thirds is also a mirrorless design. Now, this is a pro and a con because, like your 7D, a digital SLR camera, the SLR means single lens reflex. It means you're looking, when you look through the viewfinder, literally through the lens. You're seeing exactly what the camera is seeing through that lens. And it does that via a mirror. So the viewfinder is actually, the light is bounced from the lens through a mirror into the viewfinder. That means there's a big clunky mirror that has to be moved out of the way to take the picture. So that's why DSLRs like your 7D make a clunk. I like it. It's a pleasing sound, but a chunk when you take the picture. They're a little bit slower as a result, and most of all, they're bigger because the mirror takes up space. Micro Four Thirds is a mirrorless design. It's a digital shutter. Now, there's a disadvantage to a mirrorless design because you aren't looking through the lens anymore. You maybe on some like the EP3, which I think is an excellent camera. You're looking through a video tap. You're looking at an actual video image of what's seen through the lens. It's not very high resolution, not very accurate. I don't like it. Now, the nice thing, though, about the EP3, because it's mirrorless, it's very fast. It's the fastest in terms of burst, in terms of focus. It's amazing. So that Olympus PEN camera is cute. It's fast. It's smaller because there's no big mirror. It uses interchangeable lenses. They're compatible across a lot of manufacturers. The G1X doesn't have a lot of those features. This new Canon. It's a single, there's one lens. You can't interchange the lens, right? It's more compact because it is a mirrorless design, and it has a large sensor. I think the Micro Four Thirds camera sensors are about as small as you really want to get if you care about image quality. And I think having a bigger APS-C sized sensor is worth it. You'll like it better because it's the 7D size.
Right. Okay. So,
by the way, that's why I don't like the Nikon 1 and some of these others. They're just even smaller. They're too small. You know, yeah. Pentax has a little interchangeable lens camera with a sensor that's effectively the size of a point and shoot. That's too small for me.
So it sounds like the G1X is a better choice. The only negative for me being I like the idea of being able to use interchangeable lenses.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a better choice. It's a lot like the G12 you already have. It's very, 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 very similar. Same size and form factor, essentially. But it's a bigger sensor, which is wonderful. I mean, I think that does make a big difference, and you will be happier with it. It'll look more like your 7D.
Okay.
That's why people are so excited about it. You usually don't see big sensors in compact cameras.
Right. Okay.
All right. So that's the difference. You know, I have a 5D. I shoot with a 5D. I love that camera. It's heavy. It's big. It's like, I mean, I don't want to carry it around. So I end up, believe it or not, using my iPhone more than I oughta, because I always have it. And it does get pretty good images. But that sensor's smaller than the fingernail on my pinky. It's teensy. Bigger sensor, better picture, pretty much always. G1X will not be cheap, I am sure. I don't know if they've announced a price. Let's see. List is $799. And it's a little bit bigger than the G12. It's because it's got a bigger sensor, and it's a little bit heavier than the G12. But it is lighter than your 7D. That's an interesting move. You know, digital photography is so much fun. You know, let's ask Chris when he comes. Chris Marquardt, our photo guy, will be on about 15 minutes, and we'll ask him.
To realize what we're doing is not a trend. We got the gift of melody. We're gonna bring it till the end. Come on now. Like a carved drive, what I wear around my neck. All that matters is you recognize that it's just about respect. Doesn't matter.
Leo Laporte, living the pop life. 8888. Ask Leo. That's the number. Walter in Huntington, West Virginia. You're next. Hi, Walter. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. I've got a question about Yahoo.com, specifically trying to get photographs of people. If I get in there, there's a search window, and above it there's a little images. I choose images, and I type in the person's name. On the library computer, sometimes I'll only get 4 and a fraction pages, and that's it. I move to the computer next to it, and I can get 25 pages for the same person.
Huh.
Is there anything I can do with the computer that only gives me 5 pages?
Must be something to do about the setup. So I'm looking now at Yahoo.com. By the way, Yahoo uses Bing, so it's the same as a Bing search.
Really?
Yeah. And so when I get the image results, I'm looking at it. I get a grid of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 across, and kind of an infinite number going down forever and ever again. Amen. So my suspicion is that there are different browsers on that library computer. It's Internet Explorer, I'm guessing, right?
I think it. Well, yeah, I think it is. It's XP.
Yeah, I'm betting you that they have different versions. So if you,
well, you know, one day the same computer will be good, and the next day it won't be good. I suspect that maybe someone gets on there and does something.
It could be. It could be. Do you know what browser you're using?
Well, I'm not sure about that.
So the way Bing is supposed to work, and this was a big deal. Big made a big deal about this image search on Bing. Is in fact the page is supposed to go on forever.
I see. Well, I'm going to try Bing. I tried Yahoo. Maybe.
No, Yahoo is Bing. I'm on Yahoo. It's Bing. It's the same thing. Yahoo doesn't do its own search anymore.
Oh, okay.
They contracted out with Bing.
I see.
I'm not sure. Now, if you look on the left on this image search, you'll see that you can change the sizes of the images. That could have something to do with it. Large, medium, or icon, and that will give you more or less stuff. I mean, there's filters on here. You maybe there are ways to modify it that are causing some differences. I'm not sure. It also could be a different browser. If, for instance, there's IE6 on one computer and IE7 on another, that's a problem. Library computers are often not up to date, and that's a problem. I mean, it's XP, I understand, but I hope that somebody at the library is smart enough to be running Windows Update and make sure it's on, and furthermore, is updating the browsers. Microsoft wants you to be using IE. I know IE9 is out, but is that still beta? What is the official IE? Is it 8 still, or have they finally moved to 9? It's 9, okay. So you should be using 9. At least Oh, it's XP, so it would be 8, right? Yeah. So at least check and see the browser version, and make sure that you're using something not 5 or 6, both of which were security nightmares. At least 7, and preferably 8 on that computer, and that could be why you're getting different results. If they let you use Chrome, that would even be better. It's free download from Google. That'd be even better. And you could try Bing. See if Bing gives you different results. It's the same result. It's the same search, so it'd be the same results, but the layout might be slightly different. Yahoo might be modifying it. Ray in Toronto, Canada.
Leo, how are you?
From the Big Smoke. I'm good, Ray. How are you?
Listen, I think we talked back in 2003 or 2004 when the first G5 iMac came out.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
First of all, we're still a little bit pissed up here that you're not up here anymore.
Yeah, darn them. Roger, I used to do a show in Canada. First it was called Call for Help, and then we renamed it to Lab with Leo, and I did that for 4 years on Rogers.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't want to say Rogers, but I got rid of everything from them, but that's another thing, but still, I'm still pissed at
Rogers
them.
is the big cable company north of the 49th parallel.
Yeah. You just caught me at a bad moment here, too, because as I'm sitting online here, I had to chase these 2 coyotes out of my backyard because I'm on a ravine here and it's mating season, so they figured it's a good place to do stuff right in my backyard.
I miss Toronto. Not for the coyotes. I didn't really see many coyotes staying downtown, but I really enjoyed going up there. The way we would do it was kind of crazy, is I'd have to go up 5 days a month. So I'd fly up on a Monday. We'd shoot 15 shows in 4 shooting days. And at the end of that 4th day, the Friday, I'd fly home. It was exhausting. And I wouldn't be able to do a lot of the things I'm doing now, including the entire podcast network, if I were still doing that, because I'd be gone 1 week a month. So in a way, for me, it was a great thing that they canceled that show.
But, Leo, we miss you up here.
Oh, well, you're kind, but you can. I am doing 10 shows a week now on the internet.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, now, this has all got to do with swap files. Now, we discussed the swap files back in 2003. We came to consensus. It was basically you can do it. We weren't sure if there was going to be any change.
It's changed. It has changed. So that's 9 years. My advice probably has changed a little bit. Are you on Mac or Windows?
Yeah. I'm on Mac. I got both Mac and Windows here, but I'm strictly sticking to the Mac because I do astrophotography and I do a lot of processing here.
Cool. Well, Ray, my advice is if you have a solid-state drive, now normally on Macintoshes, people don't mess with the page file. They just leave it as is. And
Leo, you love to go into the bowels of OS X.
I wouldn't. Nowadays, I probably wouldn't modify that. But if you have to, you can. It's a little bit more difficult than it used to be in the old days.
Okay.
And I wouldn't. One reason you might want to modify it is if you have a solid state drive, as I do on my iMac now. And I don't recommend putting a swap file on a solid-state drive because it tends to thrash the drive and wear it out faster than it ought to be worn out. So let me see where if you can even change this swap file anymore. I'm seeing the advanced options. I could change login shell. I could change home directory.
Now, I want to set a fixed size, almost like they can do in the Windows. A fixed size so we can swap around in the same area all the time without having to go anywhere else.
I think that you're no longer able to modify that.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I got some software here, processing software that scares governments, and it's huge.
Used to be a way to modify the page file in OS X, and I don't think you could do that anymore. Can you, PC guy? Tell me how to do it. Our chat room says, oh, you can do it. I'm not sure I'd recommend it, but you could do it.
Leo, I have an image already. It doesn't matter if I blow it. I'll just put another image back onto the disk.
All right.
I prepared myself for this. If I blow it, something goes wrong, I just reformat and just.
Well, what you really don't want to do though is blow out your solid state drive. I have a good friend who's a programmer. We call him Analog X. Okay. And Mark, when SSD drives first came out, was a little concerned because we know that Flash has a limited number of writes. was a little concerned about having a swap file on the flash drive. Tried it. Burn out the drive in a matter of days. So I would recommend not putting it on the swap on the SSD. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. To get the internet into everybody's hands. A lot of what we do on this show, you need an internet connection. I'll give you an example. Here he is from Tübingen, Germany. Chris Marquardt, our photo guy. Hey, Chris. Oh, and I don't hear him because I potted him down. There you go. Say hello, Chris.
Hi there. How's it going?
Good. Via Skype, via the internet, and he's going to review photos which are stored on Flickr that all of you can look at via the internet. It's just amazing.
Yes, it is amazing. The chat room has helped us get a new assignment, so we'll talk about that later. But the community that has come up around those reviews is truly amazing.
I
Lots
love
of
it.
Great pictures.
I really do.
And the assignment was a footprint, so we want to talk about pictures of footprints. And I always like to give an assignment that can be interpreted in multiple ways, and people did. So let's look at 3 of them. First one is by, how would you pronounce his name? Ralph Dertoy. I'm not sure.
Raltred Toitu.
Well, yeah,
I don't know.
The name of the picture is JR.
It's cute. This must be his kid, right?
It is his son, and
But what does this have to do with a footprint?
Well, the reason I chose this picture is because I was hoping for more of pictures that would not go directly for like an actual footprint. But
he says this is
his son.
His footprint in life. This is the footprint he leaves behind in life. That's true. Our children are in many ways, aren't they?
Yeah, so I picked this picture for 2 reasons. First of all, kudos for not going just for an actual footprint. So that was really good thinking here. The other reason is I would change something about this picture. I like it the way it's lit from
Let
the
me
side.
describe it. So it's on a black background. He is lit with a single source of light, not from the front like flashes usually do, but from the side, and I like that. He's wearing a tracksuit. He's looking right into the camera. You get a good sense of his personality from the shot. But what would you change?
Well, I like about it that it's well lit. It's interesting. It's a very interesting light. Good catch lights in the eyes. Those are the little tiny reflections you get in the eyes. Those are really important in portraits usually. But what I would change is I'd brighten it up a bit, and I would change the white balance on it. It's kind of bluish, coolish in terms of white balance. I think it might benefit from a bit more warmth, and the way you do it is by just setting the white balance to. Well, typically on the camera, this is the little flash symbol that you can set the white balance to.
It should be pretty easy because he's wearing an Adidas tracksuit with white stripes, and they do look blue. So if we get those white stripes white, then that will be the true camera. There'll be true color on the camera.
Yes. So, but other than that, great idea. So, second picture, I had a good laugh about that one, is by DK Ingnu. And
I love this one.
Welcome, Dano.
So it's a picture of his foot on a booking sheet, you know, where you do, when you get arrested, they take your fingerprints. Yeah. And instead of taking his fingerprints, they're taking his toe prints.
So you see the form where you put the fingerprints on, and you see the toes with black marks on them from the ink. And looking at those prints, apparently that's actual toe prints there. So,
I think that's pretty funny.
And I think the way it's photographed is nice because it's got a bit of a shallow depth of field. So the not important stuff in the background isn't really that important because it's slightly blurry and the focus is where it needs to be. So I like that, and I like the idea. I'm apparently someone who has access to fingerprint kits.
Finally, this one is from Southern
Pixel Albi.
Yeah.
And it's what is it? It's
a Nike shoe footprint, I think.
It's the underside of a shoe, and I just like it for a few things. First of all, it's a nice, interesting macro. It's almost abstract. It's hard to tell what it actually is if you don't know. And it has the contrasts that make a good picture for me. So black is black and bright is bright, and the color temperature is nice, so it has a very natural, good feel to it. So well done there.
It's kind of an abstract. In fact, if you didn't know that the assignment was footprint, you would just say, I don't know what it is, but it's kind of pretty.
Yes.
So, Chris, why do we do these assignments?
Well, we do them because we want people to go out and shoot. That's the only way to learn more about photography. You want to go out and shoot. You can't learn how to ride a bicycle from reading a book. So same with photography. You have to do it.
Yeah.
And the assignments are a good excuse for going out and shooting. So we want to give a new assignment. Again, we're going to have this up for about a month. And the next assignment, I don't know who it came from, but it was from the chat room. And I think it's an easy word, but again, can be interpreted in many ways. Music.
Oh, I like that.
So that has a lot of
music.
Leaves open a lot of possibilities.
So here's how it works. You go to Flickr. Now, if you don't have a Flickr account, you can create one. It's free. If you have a Yahoo account, you have a Flickr account because it's a Yahoo site. Flickr is spelled without an E, so it's FLICKR.com. Right at the top, once you join, you'll see a Groups tab, and you can search for a group. Search for Tech Guy, 2 words, TECHGUI, and I think we're the #1 result there. I'll tell you, you'll know you're at the right place if you go to the one with 9,000 members.
And your face on the logo.
And my shining face. Well, anybody could put my face there, but 9,000 members, that's kind of hard to fake. 2,296 photos so far. And we'll put the new assignment right there on the front page. Generally, the way it works is you'll take a picture, you'll upload it to Yahoo with the tag music in this case, then submit it to the group. You're allowed to submit as many as 1 picture a week. You'll have 4 weeks, so you can put 4 pictures up there. Orbit Gal, who's our moderator, will welcome you. She also puts the rules up there. And even better, she puts intermediate assignments up there as well. So if you like the idea and you like the challenge of creating images to fulfill an assignment, then please, by all means, take advantage of this group because it's a lot of fun. And once you do that, you'll find Flickr's full of groups like this and a lot of opportunities, not only to take pictures, but get them critiqued by other photographers. And I think that's very important to improving your photography. What's your assignment for yourself this week, Chris? You doing a workshop? You got anything coming up?
I got a new iPhone I bought. If you have an iPhone iOS device, Pocket Chris, little teaching app. It's not one of those photo apps that gives you filters. There are lots of those, or doesn't let you take pictures, but it teaches you photography. So if you want to learn about some of the concepts, go to pocketchris.com, and that'll give you 3 different apps. One is free, 2 are 99 cents each. So little instructor in your pocket, and that you can take those with you on the assignments and learn a bit about photography.
Put Chris in your pocket. I like the idea. Pocket Chris for the iPhone. There's free, advanced, and advanced 2. Is that the new one, advanced 2?
That's the new one, yes. Yeah. And another few of those with other topics on the drawing board, so there will be more.
Did you hear our conversation earlier about the G1x versus the Micro Four Thirds versus the 7D?
Yeah. Just what was the exact question there?
Well, he was torn between something he'd already ordered, actually, but hadn't received yet, the Olympus EP3, the new pen camera from Olympus, which is a really nice Micro Four Thirds camera. But then Canon announced just a few weeks ago at CES the G1x, which has a bigger sensor. It has an APS-C sensor in it, but not interchangeable lenses. And he was wondering, he has a 7D and he has a G12. He'd like to upgrade. So which would you recommend?
Well, if you had a 7D and if interchangeable lenses are really important for him, then it's obviously the Olympus. But
I like the G1X.
But both have their benefits.
They sure do.
It's a hard answer.
ChrisMarquardt.com. We'll see you next week. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
You're covered in stitches.
Leo Laporte,
You're covered in stitches.
the tech guy.
Think I can't see them, but I know.
I'll be traveling to New York City before the next show, Friday. I'll be on live with Kelly with a bunch of products, 20 products if we get time. You never know with Kelly. If it just, you get what you get. I'm always on the end of the show, because they have big, mega celebrities, and I'm just the tech guy. But I'll go on and I'll show one of the things we're going to show. You've got to see. It's an 8-foot wide, 4-foot tall iPod speaker, a boombox from Behringer. It's $30,000. We will also have some new phones to show, new tablets, new laptops, a little Sphero, a little ball that you control with your iPhone, some fun stuff. So that's Friday, February 3rd. I'll be on live with Kelly. D.L. Hewley, I think, is the Regis surrogate. They still haven't replaced Regis. You can't replace Regis. That's the problem. Aaron in Phoenix, Arizona. Hey, Aaron, how are you? Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
I'm doing great. How I gather you're doing quite fabulous, talking about all these fabulous places you're going and all these great cameras and whatnot. Oh, my goodness.
Well, we were talking off the air about the fact photography is a hobby because travel is a hobby. And I just find that the more I travel, the camera gives me an excuse to get out of my shell, to go places, to take pictures. It brings back memories. They seem to go hand in hand.
I will let your agent be your agent of your career. I want to be your agent of
my travel agent.
Retire. I want to
okay.
Because I believe that I got a perfect deal for you. You could be either Travel Channel show.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Perfect.
Hey, I'd love to do that. That's a great idea.
That'd be perfect. Anthony Bourdain can do it now, and you'll do it later. Food and taking pictures. It's all about you and tech.
Food. I forgot about food. You're right. My big hobbies are eating, taking pictures, and traveling. They all go together, don't they?
I'm just saying, in tech. It's right there. And Sky Mall. It'd be the Sky Mall. And you work on a deal with Sky Mall?
Maybe.
I know that's what you do before you...
I think, Aaron, you're hired. Now, the problem is I have no intention of retiring, but maybe someday down the road.
But you have intention on traveling and eating.
I'd be doing that anyway.
See, what's it called? We'll call it like the weekend traveling dude, hobo. The weekend traveling hobo.
I like it.
Guy. Okay, that's good. Okay, see, I'm hired. I'm there. I'm on my way to Petaluma right now. I hope we got an extra room.
Thank you, Aaron.
I'm there. Yeah. Good. Now that
why'd you ask your question before you go, though? Okay.
I better. I better do that because you'll be like, "Who are you? Get this security. Martin Sargent, get this man out of here." The question I had was, so I'm building in order to keep myself married, I'm going to build my bride a computer. And what she likes to do on her computer is a little different than me. She likes to play, and you've talked about this before, she likes to play these games, the flash games.
Okay.
Like, the flash games.
We call them casual games.
Gamers. Exactly.
So I like, for instance, Plants vs. Zombies. I can't stop playing that thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I know those so she does not need to worry about so much, a big clunky graphics card or anything like that.
No.
So what I was concerned with was, do I need to get? Those seem to be like, would I need to concern myself like a lot of RAM? Like, should I get her like?
No, not really.
RAM and stuff like that. Should I get her like stuff like that as opposed to or should I worry about?
You know what? She could use even a netbook in many cases, although it wouldn't be desirable, or a Chromebook. But I think just any laptop. If you've got an i5, you've got 4 gigs of RAM. That's pretty standard these days. Windows 7. The only thing about Flash is it kind of can be a pig. And if she wants to play games and have other things going on at once, maybe more RAM. But I think 4 gigs is more than enough. Get her 4 gigs of RAM, Aaron. What are you, a nice husband? Angry Birds, that's one example. There are lots of examples of these casual games that people just can't stop. A lot of them now have migrated to mobile platforms like the iPad and the iPhone and are very popular there. But still people play them on the desktop. Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it. Good to talk to you. Joseph coming up in Torrance. He's worried about Kindle Fire security. Joseph, Torrance, California. You're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Joseph.
Hello, Leo. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good. I wanted to mention I enjoyed you and Steve's talk on WPS this past couple of weeks.
Yeah, we want to make sure everybody understood that there's a flaw in these wireless routers.
And it's not that you look it up on the search, and it's not that much stuff on it.
Isn't that terrible?
Yeah.
I think the belief of mainstream media is, this is way too technical. Even if it's a problem, we're not going to cover it.
Yeah.
That's a shame. That's my job. So.
Yeah. Anyway, my question, I kind of have two parts. First part is rooting Kindle Fire and any other phone or tablet. When you root a device, you're actually running it as an administrator.
That's right. You're becoming the root or super user or administrative user. That means you can do anything, including screw your device up. But most of the time people do it so that they can install software. For instance, I use a backup program called Titanium Backup on my Android phones. It has to be a super user because it's the only way it can get the system files. Things like that. Yeah. Google encourages phone manufacturers to allow it. Not all do. Most do. You can root a Kindle Fire because it's running Android. So I don't think there's any problem rooting most devices. It's not illegal. It probably won't void your warranty, although you should check with the manufacturer. And one of the advantages for rooting the Kindle Fire is then you can get the Android market on there.
Right. Well, my concern is security. Once you root a device, if you're hacked through the internet, the person who take over your device, they're an administrator. Is that right?
That's a great question. I guess so. They have, since you've given yourself administrator rights, then I guess they have administrative rights. So there might be more of a security problem on a rooted device. That's a good point. I hadn't really thought about that. You know, typically if somebody's able to hack a device, and we just don't see a lot of mobile device hacking, but if somebody's able to hack a device, they're able to do the things that they would want to do to become root.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Now, can you become a root or root it, do your thing, fix it up, and then unroot it to get out of the...
No, you'll need to be able to continue root access in order to continue. If what you want to do is use the Android marketplace on the Fire, you'll need to continue to do it.
See. My second question. I tried to... It's between me and you. I tried to root the Kindle Fire.
Yeah.
But it's not working now. The new update is
oh, well, okay. This is the negative on rooting. You can no longer auto-update. Somebody forgot to tell you that, right?
Right.
Because, in fact, I'm surprised it did auto-update, and that's interesting. It seems like Amazon's not checking. Usually on a smartphone, it won't auto-update. If you've modified the smartphone.
Well, I hadn't modified it yet, but when I tried to root it after the last update.
Well, you have to use the root that is appropriate to the update you're using. Understand? Very important, because if you use all of these rooting programs are very specific to the version of the kernel, to the version of the system, to the version of the software firmware. So do not, and this is one caution that when you're rooting something, you're taking a chance. Most of the times it's a mild chance, but you're taking a chance. You're taking the chance that you're going to do something to screw up your system, and maybe you don't want to do that. Generally, it's pretty safe. But do read carefully the instructions. And one of the things you really don't want to do, you want to be careful about is make sure you root the right version. So if you blow it, most rooting processes will have a way to back out. I would look for that. And good luck, Joseph. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, a good day to you, Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Talking about computers, the internet, cell phones, home theater, cameras, tablets, the Kindle Fire, $200. That's a good deal, I think. 8888 Ask Leo, that's the number. Let's get back to the phones. Gary, Massachusetts. Hi, Gary. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. It's an honor to speak to you.
Thank you.
I drive a truck for a living, and I was just told that my state is now going with a new law that you have to, if you're caught on your phone while driving a commercial vehicle, they can fine you, and it's a huge fine.
Yeah.
So I need to get a Bluetooth. Any recommendations?
We get calls from truckers frequently on this subject, and of course, there are a lot of Bluetooth headsets. There's some you stick in your ear. I use a variety of those. Plantronics makes excellent ones. The Jawbone is great. There are ones you stick on the visor, and I'm particularly happy with the Blue Ant. I think it's the F5 or S5, but if you look at blueant.com, you'll find it. That goes on the visor. So the disadvantage of that is it's everybody in the cab can hear you, but it's got a lot of battery life and so forth. And then there's one that we talk about for truckers a lot, and I've talked to a number of truckers who really like this, and it's something that probably you wouldn't wear walking around town. It's called the Blue Parrot, not Blue Ant, different animal, Blue Parrot Road Warrior, the B250. Now, what's different about this is it's a headphone almost. One ear is covered, so it's legal. You don't cover both ears. You're allowed to do that. And it has a boom mic. which means it puts the mic right by your mouth. It also has noise cancellation. In a noisy truck cab, this is designed for truckers. In a noisy truck cab, having the microphone right by your mouth and having active noise cancellation makes a big difference. It also has 16 hours of talk time, and that's because it's big. It has a lot of room for a battery, more than anything you'd hang out of your ear. So I don't know if you want a headset like this. It makes you look like the Time Life operator, but all the truckers we've talked to say this is the one they prefer. It's over the ear. It's lightweight. I think it's in some ways. I think this would be more comfortable than the in the ear. The in the ears kind of bug me. And it is legal, I believe, in all the states. So $75 on Amazon. It's the Blue Parrot Road Warrior B250 XT. Gary, I know it's a lot of letters, but if you search for Blue Parrot, one word, you'll probably find it. I found out about this actually, I think, on a trucking site. Well, we had a truck driver that recommended it, but I think he recommended it on a site that sells equipment and gear for truckers. So that, it sounds to me pretty good. I should get one of these and just try it, because the truth is I hate driving around with a headset on. And when I use the Bluetooth, the thing in your ear, you look like a nitwit. Plus, you look like you're talking to yourself because it's so small, people can't really see that you got a Bluetooth headset. At least if you've got this thing on, they know you're talking to somebody. And the problem with the in-car Bluetooth or the blue ant that you hang on your visor is everybody in the cab can hear both sides of the conversation. So there you go. Darren in Glendora, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Thanks for calling, Darren.
Hey, Leo. Question that's sort of one part backup, one part photography. I have probably over 10,000 digital photographs from over the years. I have hours and hours of video. And I have a backup scheme whereby I have 2 external drives that I rotate each week to do my backups.
Great idea.
My problem is, and I keep them off site thanks to your 3-2-1 philosophy. The problem is I was doing some housekeeping. I had some bad JPEGs from when I used to shoot JPEG, and I went to my backup drives, and the JPEGs on the backup drives were bad.
Oh, no. Sometimes that happens when you back up. If you have a bad file on the master, you back up on top of the other backup. Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly the problem. That's why I'm calling. I'm trying to find a way, without looking through tens of thousands of photos, to try to figure out where I have a bad image so that I can delete it, go get the good copy off my backup, move it to my hard drive, and I'm good to go.
What is the tool that you use to back up to this external drive? Because this is an issue of the tool you're using.
I started using SyncToy fairly recently.
I like that, but the problem is just a plain synchronization program like that. That's the free one from Microsoft. Right. Unlike, say, now I'll give you, now they're an advertiser, but don't take this as an advertisement. We're talking about Carbonite. What Carbonite does, and a good backup program will do, is something called versioning for this exact reason. What SyncToy does is it says, oh, you modified that file. I'm going to copy it on top of the backup. So now you have 2 copies of the bad JPEG. What a good backup program will do is versioning. It'll say, oh, there's another version. I'm going to save the old version and the new version. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And when that happens, if you do have a corrupt file, which is not unusual in photography, it won't erase the original good file. Another fact is good photo editing software like Lightroom, iPhoto does this, will preserve the original and make a copy of the original for modifications. So if you have a raw original, for instance, you'll always have that raw original. It'll always be good, and any modifications, even those that lead to corruption, will just be extra versions.
Is there any
you might look now. The chat room. Somebody in the chat room is saying, SyncToy does have versioning, so you might look to see if SyncToy will keep multiple versions of the same file. There might be a setting in there that'll do that.
Is there any usefulness to like a checksum program as well that would?
Sure.
Sort of
sure. Yeah. I mean,
more labor intensive.
Yeah. There are other, there are lots of ways to do this. I don't, essentially, that's what the program should be doing, is looking at okay, so you've got two copies. You've got an external drive and you've got an internal drive. And the synchronization program says, oh, they have the same file name. But it should be smart enough to notice their different file sizes or the modification date has changed. And if so, instead of doing what SyncToy does, which says, oh, the one on the hard drive is newer than the one on the backup, let me just copy the one on the hard drive on top of the old one. What it should say is, oh, they're not the same file. The size is different. The modification is different. You don't need to do a checksum, but you could if you really wanted to be crazy about it. If it looks at all different, you don't copy one on the top of the other. You create a version, and you have additional versions. I think SkyDrive does this. I think many cloud systems do this. And so I think that if you look for a better backup solution than SyncToy, you should have better results, I think. This is one of the risks of a backup solution, is you're backing up corrupt data on top of good data, then that's a bad backup solution. Anything that does that, I don't recommend. That's why I recommend Carbonite as opposed to some simpler solution. But there are other companies out there that make software that do this. There's other software. I think some of it free. Free File Sync, somebody in the chat room saying, does that. SyncBack, maybe another one to look at, according to Jeff N. So get a better tool, I guess. I've recommended SyncToy. It's free from Microsoft. But maybe it's just too simple. That's a bad thing. You don't want to propagate corrupt files. It's another reason why more than 2 copies is a good idea. You mentioned 3-2-1 backup, Darren. It's a good idea to have multiple copies and retire these backups from time to time so that they don't get corrupted. 8888 Ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Give me a ring. We'll talk some more right after this.
For 6 days on the road. About the Feather River Canyon and climbing that old grapevine.
Kyle just loves getting to play this song, I'll tell you. Kyle Benham, our musical director, you can find all the songs that he picks for the show on his Google Plus blog, Kyle BENHAM, or he tweets it. We also put it in the show notes at techguylabs.com, so you can always find any of those songs. Who sings I'm a Truck? Is that Red Sovine? Who is that?
Close. Ferlin Husky.
Ferlin Husky, of course. How could I be so wrong? 8888, Ask Leo's the number. Ron in Thousand Oaks. Leo Laporte. I'm a tech guy.
Leo, glad to talk to you. I have 2 questions. First question is, I have a HP Vista, and my D drive is full. And when I go to that and want to erase things, it gives me warnings not to erase things. Can I erase things?
It says don't erase. What does it say? Warning, do not erase things.
Exactly.
Really? Well, I wonder what's on that D drive. Now, presumably, it's set up like a normal Windows machine. It's an old enough machine that I bet you they partitioned a single drive into 2 logical drives. In other words, yeah, they're not 2 physical drives in there. There's probably 1 drive, and they divide it up into C and D.
Right.
Yeah. And, of course, when they do that, they guess at how big each should be. And they often guess wrong.
Yeah.
So you got I bet you have plenty of room on C and no room on D. Now, are you putting data on D, or is it just a drive? I mean, have you used D for anything?
I think I've used it to backup or
I'm guessing in the chat room's concurring that in fact the D drive, you really shouldn't even look at it. The reason it's saying don't erase anything, it's your recovery partition.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. So you don't want to erase anything, and it is full because HP knows how big it should be and fills it up. They don't want to take up more of your hard drive than they need to.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be full. It's full of good stuff, your operating system. Is there a reason why you want to use it?
No, I don't want to use it. I just keep getting this annoying thing that says
It's almost full.
Yeah, or it is full.
Yeah, so something maybe used it that shouldn't have. Normally what they do with the D drive is they hide it. so that you can't see it, and this won't happen. But because it was visible, perhaps some software or something you did saved something off of there. And remember, when they make that recovery partition, they size it just right. They're not going to waste your space, so they size it within, maybe a few hundred megabytes of the actual drive content. So if you did start putting stuff on there, it would fill up almost instantly.
Yeah, it pretty much did.
Yeah.
Do you? About a 4-year-old machine, so.
Yeah. Do you? I would look at. Are you using Windows Backup or some sort of backup solution?
No, that was my second question. I was wondering about Carbonite.
Yeah, Carbonite's a good idea. Although I always like to have more than one backup. I have a Carbonite and a local backup.
Okay, my son said something about putting in an external hard drive.
Well, you kind of want both, and I'll tell you why. The external hard drive is convenient because it's right there. But if there's a fire, I mean, if something disastrous happens, it's also right there, and it'll go with everything else. So generally, my philosophy of backup, Carbonite or not, is, and I stole this from my good friend Peter Krogh, who's a photographer, and created a website with the Library of Congress and the Association of Professional Photographers called bestflow.org, and he talks about backup there. He says 3-2-1 backup. You got to remember 3-2-1. 3 copies. That could be an original and 2 backups. 2 of them on different forms of media. Don't put them all on a hard drive or all on a CD, or 2 of them on different forms, and 1 of them off-site. That could be the internet or your office, but somewhere not next to the computer.
Right.
And that's pretty easy to do with Carbonite and an external drive. That's kind of, to me, that's what I do, and that's kind of the easiest solution is use an external drive for, like, copying stuff off, and then Carbonite is kind of your emergency. If everything goes wrong, you've got a copy in the cloud.
Okay, I actually have a media safe that I can put it in.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. So what's probably happened, you could sort the files on your D drive by date and look at the very most recent files.
Okay.
That's probably what filled that D drive up, and see what they are. And if there's nothing you need, I bet you could delete the most recent files, because those are not the files HP put there, I would guess.
Yeah, and it filled up like the first year I had it.
Yeah.
It's been sitting there for 3 years. And,
the warnings are annoying. You can turn those off in Vista if you right-click the drive and you look at the properties there. You can turn off low drive warning. Just turn it off. You probably should turn it off. It may be you have too many system restores. I'm not sure what's being stored on there. I don't have an HP myself, but I would, if you want to know what filled it up, sort by date. And the most recent stuff is stuff that's newly there and probably occupying more space than you want it to. Christy, Harbor Springs, Michigan. Hi, Christy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo Laporte.
Hello, Christy.
How are you?
I'm well. What can I do for you?
Well, first, I would like to shout out to you from my boyfriend, Will, who's at work today, and he loves your show.
Hi, Will.
I love it, too, of course.
Thank you.
I'm a musician.
Well, you're forced to listen to it, aren't you, Christy?
I'm sorry?
You're forced to listen to it. You have my deepest sympathies.
Actually, no, he actually introduced me to your show, so I may not have found it otherwise.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a viewer listener on my own. So.
Excellent. Thank you.
Of course. I'm a musician, and I've been supporting my music career with music writing, interviewing bands, and writing for magazines.
Oh, that's a great idea. So you get to do what you love, but you also make a living.
Exactly.
Good idea.
Music takes a while to, build up an audience.
Oh yeah, my son wants to become a professional musician, and I told him that. I said, think about your being able to do something you love. He loves writing and composing, but also ways that you can use the skills you gain to make a living at the same time. And I think you found a good compromise, which is you write about music, which is great.
Yeah, it's good because it's something I know a lot about.
Now according to the call screener, you are publishing your own magazine.
Yeah, I am. I've been writing for some national publications for the past couple of years and some local publications. I spent half the year in the Midwest and half in New York City. I decided to just go ahead. I had a lot of contacts, and I was enthused about it, and I started my own web magazine. It's called pixismag.com.
See, I love this, and I do think that your generation, my kid's generation, this is... Look, my kid's going to be graduating from high school into a dead economy with big unemployment. Yeah. So what is the solution there? Learn to make your own job. And nowadays, thanks to the internet, you can publish your own magazine. I mean, people have done it for years, but sure. Is it P? Spell it for me. P.
It's PY.
Y.
XIS as in Sam.
PYXIS.com.
No, PYXIS mag MAG.com.
MAG.com. PYXYS. PYXISMAG.com. I think I got it.
Yes, sir.
That's great. Well, good. Oh, look, this is very professional and nice looking. Wow.
Well, see, part of that is due to your advice on WordPress. Between Will and my friend Sean, who's more tech savvy, and your advice, I chose WordPress to make it, and it turned out really well.
Hang on a bit, and we'll talk some more, because I want to hear how you've done this. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Christy, right? Hi, Christy. You still there?
Hi, Leo. I am here.
Is that your music?
It's a cover by Coldplay that I perform, but yeah, that's me.
That's awesome. Sound great. I love it. I love your voice. So Christy is a musician, a singer, obviously, but also, as we all must from time to time, she makes a living writing about music and has created her own online fanzine called Pixis, PYXISmag.com. And I was just saying how gorgeous this is, really nicely done, and how this is, I think, the template for the generation growing up today is you've got to make your own job, I think, in many cases. You know, you can't... I'm going to speak next month to the National Association of Heads of School, people who are school principals, headmasters, headmistresses, people who run high schools, about the future of work. And this is exactly the message that I think we need to get to our educators. Is we need to train people on how to create their own job if they can't get a job, because often that's what we need to do. We need to create a generation of entrepreneurs. And not only is it good for them, it's good for us. So well done. I mean, I'm sure this is challenging, and you know, but I bet it's also satisfying.
It's very fun, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I like writing about music almost as much as I like creating music. So yeah, it's a great thing for me to be doing, I think.
Well, what can I do to help you?
Well, my question is this. The site's been online since the beginning of January. We had a really great launch. I had a lot of support from, friends, and then some PR people that were helping me get bands lined up to speak with and that sort of thing. Now that it's been up for a month, I don't know what to do to promote it without being annoying or without sending...
Yeah, you got now the sophomore slump, don't you? It's like, oh, you mean I have to do this all the time? The key on, first of all, just as the internet has reduced the barrier to entry, so anybody who wants to write can write, or produce video, or produce music, and the internet gives you, your digital technology gives you the tools, the internet gives you the global distribution. The barrier to entry is now low, so that means it's not just you, but there's 100,000 other people doing the same thing, right?
Correct.
So there's more competition. Now, I don't think that's a bad thing if you're good. And I think the cream will rise. Now, sometimes it's a little frustrating because there is so much competition. You've got what is on the... Oh, by the way, we broke your site. I apologize. Too many people going there at once. But so that's one way to publicize it. Not a long-term solution either. The key, I think, to internet, and look, I'm an internet broadcaster. Most of my living is made not through this radio show, but through my podcasts that I do on the internet all week long. Same situation, by the way. I was gainfully employed by a technology television network called Tech TV, and they pulled the plug. So I had to create my own job, and it's a lot harder at 55 than it is at 25. Let me tell you. But the key is to find your audience. It's true for musicians, obviously. It's true for a blog. It's true for podcasts. It's true for anything. Find your audience, which means know your audience, know where they are, and then go get them. Okay. So, and this is easier if you are kind of laser-like in your focus.
Okay.
So, if you just write a music magazine, what does that mean? It could be anything from madrigals to mashups. And so what you really want to say is, what kind of a music magazine are you? What kind of music do you write about? And just as people who listen to bands are often very narrow in their taste, very parochial in their taste, you may need to be more narrow and more parochial than you would like to be. It does not do to be a generalist in the internet world. You want to find an audience and super serve it, target it, go right at them. It should be an audience you know, preferably one you're part of, so that you know how to serve them well. And so how would you care? Is this about all music? What is Pixis about?
No. I mean, primarily we function, working with indie rock music.
Indie rock. Okay, that's a good start. And by the way, they have the same problem you do.
What's that?
Promoting themselves.
Oh, yeah, I know.
So,
I'm one of them.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, good. Oh, good. So you understand their business.
Mm-hmm.
Now, indie rock is a pretty broad term.
It can be.
Yeah, I think it's probably narrow enough. The next thing you need to do is figure out where the people who would be the natural readers of your website go, and reach out to them. So if there are other blogs or fan sites or so forth, participate in those sites as you would hope they would participate in yours. Don't become a good internet citizen in the sense that you participate. In fact, everybody who's everybody who's listening now should do that, because you may not be doing any self-publishing right now, but maybe you want to down the road. The best way to do it is to start building your reputation as a good internet participant right now. Think of those terms and be in those places where your audience would be, so they get to know Christy. They know, Christy's great. Yeah. And then when they start finding out Christy's a writer, Christy publishes articles about stuff I care about, they'll start reading. And the most important thing that you're trying to get to have, and the reason you want to build community, is because you want the community to talk about you with each other. Word of mouth is really the only good marketing, right? So, but you can't have word of mouth until you get somebody's mouth to start with. So hook a few people. They say 1,000 people's enough. If you have
the 1,000 fan theory.
Yeah, 1,000 fan theory they call it. If you have 1,000 fans, so make that your goal. Don't make it 100,000 because you'll get discouraged, right?
Yeah, I mean that would work for music as well. That's the 1,000 fan theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Think of it that way, because it's something doable. Get 1,000 fans on Facebook. And by the way, just because you have a website does not mean you should not use Twitter, Facebook, and Google+.
Oh, we started with Facebook and we started with Twitter both, and we've been active with them since the site started. So.
Yeah, and Google+ too. Participate everywhere you can. Look for forums. Look for other fanzines. Participate in every way you can, because you want to get your name out there. You want to let people know. Even go to concerts. Especially go to concerts. And make your goal not be I want 1 million readers or 100,000 readers. Make your goal be I want 1,000 fans. If you can get 1,000 fans, and I think that's a doable number. It seems maybe intimidating. It's maybe also, if you do the math, not enough to make a living. But it's the starting point, and that's where you start. And once you do that, I think then your next job, and this is, of course, always your job, is to make the best possible content. Great content will win. If you go out there and let the world know about it, great content will win, I believe. Of course, I'm a pie-eyed optimist. Good luck, Christy. I think that's great. I'm glad we could give you a little plug on the show, but that's not enough. You need to find your audience. Pixis, Pixis, mag.com if you're into indie rock. That's the Notice I say that. You got to say that. What is it? What is it I get? Is it for every kind of... No, it's for indie rock. Oh, okay. It's about new unsigned bands. Okay. It's about music discovery. Narrow it down. Get your elevator pitch together. You know what they call that? The elevator pitch? You get on the first floor with a venture capitalist, billion-dollar guy, could write you a check that gets you launched. You've got 5 floors to tell him what you do. That's your elevator pitch. You got 30 seconds. How do you tell them exactly what you're up to, what makes you unique, why you're going to be a success, why you're a winning company in 30 seconds? Can you do that? Then if not, work on it, polish it. What's your elevator pitch? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We'll have more of your calls right after this. What? Somebody doesn't like Sonny and Cher?
Then put your hand in mine. There ain't no hill or mountain we can't climb.
that an 8-track? Is that what's going on there? You smashing your 8-track? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I got you, babe. Final minutes of this weekend's show. Don't forget, I'll be on Regis. I'm sorry. I knew I would say that at one point. I probably will, too. I'll be on Live with Kelly on Friday, February 3rd, showing off a bunch of gadgets, about 20 gadgets from CES, including the world's biggest boombox. Should be a lot of fun. That show's on 9 to 10 a.m. most areas on Friday. And it's live with Regis and DL. I mean, live with Kelly and DL this time, because DL Hewley is the guest host on that. Jim in Yorba Linda, California. Hi, Jim. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure. Thank you for calling.
Hey, I've been contemplating getting an iPad 2 for an upcoming birthday, but obviously you hear the rumors of iPad 3 coming out. I want to know what your take on the rumors of what the iPad 3 will have and also release date.
Yeah, well, of course, again, these are rumors. Apple doesn't say, and anybody who says they know is guessing. So as long as you understand, I'm about to guess.
I understand. Yeah, your guess is probably better than my guess.
Well, I look and I see, and I think what I'm seeing, most people agree that Apple will probably stay on track with its March ship date. That's what it's been the last 2 years running. And Apple likes to do these things pretty regularly. They're a pretty consistent company, which means in all likelihood, we'll see an announcement in the next 4 weeks. So you could wait and see what Apple announces. Here's what I predict. And again, this is just a guess. A guess backed up by stories from publications like Digitimes, which is a Taiwanese electronics supplier newsletter. And they say that Apple has been ordering a lot of high-resolution displays, iPad-sized displays. So guess number one is that we will see a higher resolution display, much like the iPhone 4, which was a big jump over the iPhone 3GS. I think that, I don't know if it'll be Retina, but it'll be a high-quality, high-resolution display. I don't think they'll change the form factor. It'll be 1024 by 7. Well, I'm sorry, it's not 1024 by 760. It'll be more dots than that, but it'll still be I believe, a 10-inch screen. I don't think Apple's going to go to a widescreen. They say it'll be a little thicker for more battery life, and they need more battery life because it has 4G in it. And this, I think, is probably true. Verizon has made a strong push towards making all the phone manufacturers put 4G in their phones. So I think there will be a 4G iPad 3. I hope, although I'm actually not hearing any rumors to this effect, I hope they'll improve the camera. The current camera in the iPad is terrible. It could really stand some improvement. If they could put a camera of the equivalent quality to the iPhone 4, not necessarily the iPhone 4S, but the iPhone 4, I think everybody would be thrilled by that. So those are the things I expect. Now, if they do that, it's very possible, rumors have been flying, that Apple will continue to sell the iPad 3 at a lower cost. They're getting a lot of pressure from the Kindle and other companies at the $200 to $300 price point. And I know that Apple generally does not reduce prices unless they have a new product. The new product will be at probably the same price, starting at $500, but maybe that means that they'll continue to sell an iPad 2 at, say, $350 or $400. That would be good news for people who want iPad 2s but can't afford them. So that would be my guess. Those are my guesses across the board.
Okay, average user, I'm not going to have no big ton of music, and does 16 gigabyte work for sort of an average?
Yeah, I mean, look at how much video and music you're going to put on there, and you don't need 16 gigabytes for apps. You need 16 gigabytes for media.
Okay.
So if you got a lot of media and you want to make sure you're carrying it all with you, especially movies, those are big. Think about each movie is roughly a gigabyte, maybe 700 megabytes to a gigabyte. So 10 movies, that's 10 gigabytes. So if you think you're going to want to travel with that, you might want to get a 32.
Okay. 2 movies or 3 movies.
And 16's. I have 16 on most of my devices. The one I do have my main iPad, 64 gigabytes. I never filled that thing up. There's no way I could fill that up.
Okay, I appreciate it.
And now, somebody's mentioning, and this is true, the new textbooks, the iBook textbooks are huge. They're really big, often several gigabytes. So if you're going to use it for textbooks or for school, do get a big one. Do get the biggest you can afford, because these new textbooks, because they have video, audio, multimedia in them, they tend to be quite large. So let's watch. We'll see. I think February will be the month Apple will announce it. I think March will be the month they'll ship it, just as they have in 2010 and 2011. I can't wait. What Apple has done and is getting good at is adding just enough to make you want it, but no more. So the iPhone 4S, just a little bit better than the iPhone 4, a little bit better camera. It's got the Siri, just enough to say, well, I really should get that. But no more, because they want to slowly trickle these advances out, because at some point, you can't make any more advances. Leo at TechGuyLabs.com. Dawn in Bellflower, California. Hey, Dawn. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy.
Hey, I'll make it quick because I know time is short. I would love to have Neat Desk, but I can't afford that. And I wondered if you could recommend any software where I could scan, because I've got my own scanner and I've got a camera phone, and I could take pictures of receipts in whatever way needed to be done. But I would love to have software that would sort it and keep it organized.
Yeah, Neat Desk, what is a few $100s, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have it. This is the Neat Receipts Scanner. It's a desktop scanner. It has a slot for documents, receipts, and cards. But really, any scanner could do this. The software is the key because it senses what it is, and it says, oh, this is a receipt, and fills out the form, and you correct it. But, the truth is, what is your goal? Your goal is to get all that paper off your desk?
Exactly, and I do work for myself, and so for taxes and everything else, it would just make it so much simpler.
Yeah. I don't. Is there a? Let me ask the chat room if there's a. Yes, Evernote. There you go. So I presume you have kind of rudimentary scanning software that came with your scanner.
Right.
Yeah. Scan into Evernote. Scan them as PDFs and scan them into Evernote, which is free.
Okay.
All platforms. Great program. If you get the Evernote Pro, which is inexpensive, it will do optical character recognition and add keywords so you can quickly find it. You can organize. You'll have to do it a little bit more manually than with Neat Receipts, but it's still pretty good. You can organize it into folders. I think Evernote is exactly what you want, and it's free.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
How about that? Thank you, Dawn. Great to talk to you. Thanks for the call. Thank you, everybody, for listening. See you on Live with Kelly on Friday, and I'll be back here next weekend talking tech. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy.